literally just give people housing.
Yeah, I agree. And then also too, even with, there's like the stereotype, because I've also experienced homelessness myself, like lived on Skid Row the whole nine. So I was still working like 2 jobs and we were not making livable wages. Minimum wage is different than like a livable wage. That's different than like a reasonable wage depending on the industry you're in. I do a lot of freelance, so sometimes it can get.
Should we talk about minimum wage a little bit? Let's just touch on it. Like, if I only produce $12 an hour for an employer in some line of work, and the minimum wage is $15 per hour, 0% chance they hire me unless they want to go out of business. Right?
Yeah,
0% chance.
Makes certain jobs impossible. That's all it does.
Yeah.
Makes this voluntary transaction impossible.
The alternative for me isn't $12 per hour versus $15 per hour. It is $12 per hour versus $0 per hour. That's the alternative.
Exactly.
I suppose that's all we need to
say. And not just that. There's another thing that must be added here, because it's not just, okay, we lose a job, whatever, right? It's, okay, we lose a job, and now there's this loss of a job leads to other prices going up because this job cannot be satisfied. So maybe something in the production process itself now is degraded as a result.
And by the way, that's why you get automation. So because you don't have to pay a robot minimum wage, so it drives automation, which these people hate.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's nothing conceivably good about it. I don't know why it's even like
because if you thought it was good, then make the minimum wage $10 trillion per minute. Make it that. Yeah. If that rises every, we'd all be so wealthy, right?
That's a good counter. Yeah, for sure. Like, it doesn't create any wealth by creating this law that just makes certain jobs impossible.
You might say it's rent seeking.
Yeah, what did that mean again?
it was manipulating the economy through public policy or like whatever else, to get more money without creating wealth.
You don't get more money though.
Yeah, but I mean, you're trying to rent seek at the very least.
I suppose. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I guess that's just rent seeking. Yeah, sure, makes sense.
So I believe, to your point, what you were saying, like people are doing everything they can, and we keep like raising things up, but not raising up like how people are able to afford living. Then that's how we have like the homeless or unhoused epidemic.
But we do. That's the thing. Wages do go up. The problem is that there is some specific entity that shall be unnamed, this mysterious entity that is totally SpaceX and not the government, who, unfortunately, due to the measurements it takes, for instance, through the Fed in the US, but in other countries, it's their national banks who have this legal monopoly over money, who get manipulated by the government and used by the government in order to increase inflation or control inflation, right? To pay off their debts or to pay off for things that would otherwise no one would otherwise buy, right? These things are the things that actually make a life hard. It's not that wages don't go up. Wages do go up, but the costs go up higher because of these measures that the government and the state take. It's not there's a cost, of course, in the private sector. That's always going to be. That also can increase, right? But the big thing in the increases is actually due to these regulations and taxes that come from the government, especially inflation. We see it here. I mean, I live in Romania, right? You know what the yearly inflation is? It's about 11% now.
Oh my god!
It's insane.
That's leading towards Zimbabwe levels.
It is. It's the highest one in Europe. And you know what the government is planning to do? Nothing. They're just going to continue spending more. Like. It's clearly, we know what the issue is, and inflation fucks everyone. It also makes it, there's also the concept of monetary velocity, right? Money doesn't go in, it's not distributed in society at the same speed, right? So by the time you get more money, things have already increased in price so much that you can't afford them at that point. There's a lot of things that can happen by the time you actually see that wage increase. And sometimes that wage increase will never even happen because maybe at some point it becomes unprofitable to hire you. It has the same cutoff effect as the minimum wage. Like, we know the government is fucking things over, and they fuck things over in a lot of places, especially where I am, right? This argument that, these wages aren't going up, well, the fact that you don't feel this thing is mostly a problem of government.
Well, let me just do a quick BRB. You guys feel free to like either engage with chat or like continue in the video because I mean we're gonna have to get through the video at some point. But
Yeah.
do what you do what thou wilt. I'm gonna BRB in.
Can't,
Sure.
since you're talking about the euro, you're like in Bulgaria, right?
Nope, I'm not in Bulgaria. Romania.
Romania. Okay, yeah, but Romania, that's in the EU, right? So can't you just use the euro?
No, we
No.
do not qualify for the euro.
Okay, I see.
And honestly, if we go ahead and transfer the euro, I think we're gonna have other problems.
Right. Like what specifically would you say?
For instance, there's requirements for for us to adopt the euro. But if we were to adopt the euro, nothing of the problem that we actually have, which is the government spending, would actually be solved. We're gonna just add another layer of bureaucracy. Okay, now we're also gonna be tied to the euro. Okay, that doesn't really change the problem, right? Like we are borrowing a lot of money, which I'm pretty sure we're never gonna be returning, and that's the only way we're spending money here. Like we have this fund this line of credit that we're getting from the EU that requires us to adopt some measures. Like, okay, cut some spending here, do some things there, get the inflation under control, right? And we cannot. And the plan of the government right now was to, hey, let's kind of try to do this so we can get the money from this line of credit to pay off our stuff, right? But we don't even qualify for the line of credit anymore. So the government is in a big pickle because they raise spending, inflation is going up, and we can't get the line of credit that we would have used for things. Like, it's nuts how stupid these guys are.
Right. I don't know much more about that.
Yeah, it's not an issue. Do you want to go over the questions in chat?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Who was the squatter YouTuber that was mentioned earlier? Yeah, that was Asian Andy. And if you want to look for the Instagram variant, which is also, I recommend it a lot, it's called Flash Shelton. I'm going to post his name here. There was some other things in here that was interesting. There was a question from Anfash F1E. Question. If people cease to be employed due to minimum wage, putting them out of a job, wouldn't scarcity increase the wage over time? Artificially, maybe. The wage of what? The minimum wage? Or maybe I'm not really getting the question. What wage are you referring to?
Yo,
What's up?
Yo.
you're engaging with somebody. You want to?
Yeah, there was a question, and I need more details on it, honestly, because it's a bit vague. The question is from Anfash F1E. Question: if people cease to be employed due to minimum wage putting them out of a job, wouldn't scarcity increase the wage over time? Artificial as it may be. What wage is he referring to? Minimum wage?
Yeah, I don't see how that's. I don't see the logic there now.
Wouldn't scarcity increase?
Which wage? Like the minimum wage? Like the minimum wage is decided by politicians.
Yeah.
Like the actual wage, like
I mean, there's one aspect in which this happens, but it's not really the question you're asking. Like, yeah, if people lose jobs due to minimum wage, there are second order effects in the economy that make the production processes less efficient, and they may also lead to some jobs being maybe a bit more expensive to do, and the whole costs of products on the market going up.
eventually scarcity would drive the value they produce
Well, I
to
mean,
$15 or more.
Well, let's take like the reduction case of the $10 trillion per minute minimum wage. Well, like people's jobs still would get done, but everybody would be self-employed, for instance. Like, so the jobs still do get done, but not in the correct allocation, right? I think that's maybe what they're driving at.
He says that the job would eventually become more expensive to do. I think there would be a demand for it because, you didn't eliminate the demand for it. You just made it uneconomical to actually satisfy the demand, which would maybe force people to get it if it's vital, but more often than not, it's usually not vital if it's and
then they're having to like eat away at other parts of the business. Like, for instance, he brings up the example of McDonald's. Like, McDonald's are still going to hire servers and like people to cook the meals and shit. Or like they're still going to hire people. But if it costs a lot more money at the scale that McDonald's is operating on, maybe they don't open a branch near you. Maybe they have to shut down certain branches. They have to contract their businesses in other places because there is this new massive cost. So they have to make those savings somewhere, right? Somewhere has to be made the savings. And it's not going to be at the CEO taking a wage cut, like the socialists might think. And it's not because the CEO he's just so greedy or whatever. It's because the CEO has the most important job in the company. So you got to pay him a certain wage. And if you try and cut the CEO salary, then you're going to get a worse CEO. And then the company truly dies.
But the thing is, it wouldn't make the job itself more valuable. It may be more prohibitive to actually hire someone in that spot, because, as Yuzul said, you have to cut from some other parts. Maybe you would not get this McDonald's. But there's another aspect here which could happen. It could actually bump the value down by enabling McDonald's to, well, not enabling, but by forcing them to actually consider automation in there. Maybe they're not gonna. Maybe they're gonna fire the rest of their servers that had above that minimum wage, because this new automation system is more efficient or cheaper, right? If anything, it could only result in worse things that a person would want from this.
And another thing they could do
is bad here.
And another thing they could do is start lumping more responsibilities onto different roles, so that the role actually is that valuable, but then it's just being done by one person, and it becomes like a worse working environment. It becomes like, something people don't want to do as much, but, then you no longer have the original, like, cooks being hired. It's just one person is doing a bunch of people's jobs. They have extra responsibilities on top of that. You're a manager and also you're a cook now, for instance.
And the worst part of that is usually when these kind of accumulation of jobs, this compounding of jobs into one job, this doesn't actually result in having the sum of the salaries. It's usually less. So the value of the job is actually probably less than what you would actually get before this minimum wage. Like, for instance, in the EU, this is a big thing right now. We have this CRA, which is the Cyber Resilience Act. This forces a lot of manufacturers in the automotive scene, for instance, to make sure that their software and whatnot is secure and meeting these requirements, right? But there's a lack of actual people who have the cybersecurity prowess and knowledge to develop this. So what they actually ended up doing, because I work in this domain, is they got normal software developers to also wear this hat, and usually at not any increase in salary. So it's, if anything, this is pretty shitty. This kind of outcome is shittier than just having another guy do the job. Not just because, hey, you're stressing the worker, right? But it's also because you're potentially going to have a worse job being done. You're asking someone to do a lot more things that he's not usually. You probably didn't hire.
He's not specialized in.
Exactly. We have this division of labor specifically to not have this problem.
Yeah, let's continue. How the fuck do I change the goddamn playback speed?
I think we all have to have the playback speed changed. Zedetic, do you have it set to 1.5?
No, I don't. Should I?
Do it. Yeah, put it to 1.5. I have it at 1.5. Zulu tried to set it as well, and then let's see if it works.
Yeah, I've got it at 1.5.